Yeah. Right on. Thank you. All right, Kara. So, I just, we talked a little bit about what I want you to share just, your background a little bit, but everybody's got that. But talk about, the teams that you've led and then, and, how you see this, you've had a chance to meet everybody. You haven't had one-on-ones with everybody yet. You've had a couple, but, you've just had two of them, right? Or,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
And so, just talk about what your approach is going to be, and then how you want to work with the sales team, because I know that was a big part of my, um, criteria when we were looking for somebody, was somebody that I felt could really connect with salespeople and build relationships with the sales team, so it doesn't feel like it's that bullshit ops versus
Friction.
sales environment that everybody seems to take. It's like, well, that's just how it is, I don't want to. I don't want one company, one team. And so, let's go ahead. I'll let you go.
Yeah. So I came from a company that I started at 10 years ago. When I started, there was about 20 loan officers. They sold in March of 2024. And at the time, we had 138 loan officers. So I was able to help build out and scale. I was over the credit risk and underwriting team. So I was able to build out and scale system efficiencies, processes, roadmaps for people to follow. So that way everybody was doing the same thing. It wasn't like this processor was doing this and this underwriter was doing that. Everybody knew what to do. Um, we were closing 6,700 units a year for about $2 billion. I supported all 138 loan officers. I was the point of escalation. I was the one that made all the business decisions. Um, so it's fun to watch, to see, as I've been in Encompass, to see how your guys' Encompass is set up, and to sit with everybody individually from the beginning of the manufacturing process. I'm going to sit with processing first, and then underwriting, closing, and then post-closing, just to see what everybody's doing. And even though I'm only going to shadow one person for each, I'm going to go back and talk to everybody to make sure, like, hey, this is how Chelsea's doing it. Is that the same way Nicole's going to do it? And just outlining, seeing what their keystrokes are. Are three people looking at the same document? Who really needs to own ownership of that document? Finding out the timeline of when appraisals are ordered. Who's ordering the appraisals? I found out yesterday underwriting is doing the insuring. Well, that's a post-closing task. So working with Jonathan to get him up to speed on doing those things, but just taking some of the things off of everybody's plate. I'll take ownership of a lot of that. As Dave continues to recruit and build out sales, the ops team needs to have capacity to be able to pick that up and not worry about a lot of the administrative tasks that are for other people to do, or maybe we can streamline it, make it automated. So it's a lot of fun to be able to get in and pull up my sleeves and really dig in to see where we can start making some efficiencies. It is, obviously it's a big task. So it's not like Dave yesterday said, "Oh, are you ready to go? Everything's fixed." It's like, not yet. So yeah, so I am meeting individually with all the ops team just to find out they've been here. I'm the new guy. It's like starting a new doctor and you have to go in and give him your history and your background. Same thing. Like, what are your pain points? Where do you see areas of improvement? What is your history? Do you have a big history of being a processor, a post closer? And just being able to get in and have written procedures, and everybody's like, okay, how do we do this? How do we do escrow holdbacks? How do we do any type of exceptions? What's the chain that we follow in that? And as far as sales goes, I have been very involved with sales. I used to hold monthly meetings with them, find out what their hot topics were. What do you guys want to know? It could be underwriting. It could be how to calculate rental income. It could be, hey, these are the trends we're seeing from post closing. The investors are really picking apart condos. What can we do to be better about that? And just, we used to call it cocktails with Cara, and we'd have it later in the day, and people could come have drinks, and we were all on video. So it was fun. I always wanted the questions ahead of time so I could be prepared and researched, and then I would bullet point it out. We'd have dialogue back and forth, and then I'd send that back to everybody with my answers, and then they could use it. One of the other things I was talking to Dave about is having a central place of communication for the entire company. I came from a Teams background. We use Teams a lot. You can build out channels. Each channel can be, you can have an all company channel where everybody's involved. You can have just an ops channel, just a sales channel. And unless you're invited to that, kind of like Facebook, you only have Facebook friends if you accept them. Same thing, you can add that. And it's a great place to house everything because there's a files, you can put folders in there. Dave can push out all kinds of sales information. I can push out policies and procedures, guidelines for new investors. And that's another area that was talked about with me with Amy was when a new investor comes on board, sometimes ops doesn't know about it, but sales does. So then ops is like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? How do we do? Is this a broker? Is this not a broker? Is this delegated, not delegated? So just streamlining those processes and really putting together like a roadmap and having job aids. So that way, when we do cross train and have utility players that, if Renee's out, Chelsea's going to jump in. But if Chelsea happens to call out sick, okay, well, then I'm going to jump in and close loans. So having job aids that anybody could pick up and go do something. So that way business goes on as usual. Same thing with the lock desk. I mean, if Sherry's out, does anybody else know how to lock a loan? I don't. So I'm gonna have to get with her to figure
Not
out how
right
to do
now,
that.
no.
Yeah. So
No.
it's things like that. And, I mean, obviously it's a smaller company, which I love, but at the same time, you still have volume and everybody has a little bit of everything going on. So just like trying to hone it in so I can, like I said, put it all in writing, make sure everybody's rowing the boat in the same direction. We don't want to have someone rowing a boat and somebody else filling the boat up with water. Like we all need to be good doing the same thing. So,
Right.
but yeah, so I mean, with Thrive, it was great because when I started, there was 5 underwriters, I think, on the team. Now, of course, during 2020 and 2021, I think I had 52 people in the department because it was insane with volume. But on average, we had about 12 underwriters and a couple junior underwriters. Those easy conventional files, an underwriter doesn't necessarily need to pick it back up. A junior could go in, clear conditions, CTC it, and the underwriters could keep focusing on new production or more difficult files. So it was fun to be able to support that large of production with fewer people to make it more efficient. One of the other things that I would go in and do, and I'm going to do here too, is see where we can save on expenses. Do we always need to have a credit supplement? Probably not. What's the order in which we fire off an undisclosed debt notification? That was one of the areas I was telling Dave yesterday. We used to trigger those when the file went into underwriting. Well, pull through rate. So some of those never come back to underwriting. So we changed it to save cost. We now start triggering it at resubmission and we made the owner of that the closer, not the underwriter anymore. So just being able to look at efficiencies that way to save money, bottom line. Same thing with, do we need to use different products if we have something in-house that we can use? Do we need to build out an intranet if we could really shift over to Teams, or I need to dig into Zoom, but I can see Zoom allows channels. So maybe Zoom has a lot of the same capacity and capabilities that Teams did, and we can utilize that because that's already something that we're using versus going out and spending more money on another vendor. So those are areas that I'm looking at right now. Obviously, today is the start of day 4. I got to knock out my compliance training between today and tomorrow. But other than that, I mean, it's really nice to go into an office. I've been remote for 10 years. So interacting and seeing people in the flesh has been nice. But yeah, I want to do shadowing and one-on-ones in person. I think it's way better to do it in person. You have less distractions. So I'll be doing one-on-ones again, and I'll start shadowing the week of the 12th. And I'll start with Chelsea. So I'm going to start
Talk
in the
about
manufacturing
condos for a
process.
minute. You've got a really strong condo background, which I told Amy, I'm like, hey, if we hire Cara, we're getting a condo desk at the same time. So it's like 2 for 1. So go ahead, talk about condos.
Yeah, same thing. When I started at Thrive, they didn't do condos in-house. And so I brought all that knowledge with me and built out a small condo team. Yeah, the condos aren't hard. I mean, agency has made them a little bit more difficult, but I do have some training material and there's some online courses for condos. But yeah, I'm going to work with the underwriters. I'll work with processors to make sure that they know how to read the documents so they can identify red flags and let us know earlier in the process versus if they wind up getting the condo docs and sit on them for 3 days and there's an issue, that's a problem. So working with them to identify red flags and then working with the underwriters to do limited condo reviews first. Once they feel comfortable with that, then I can get them up to speed on full condo reviews. But in the meantime, I can take on the full condo reviews. I'm working with Ashley now to get access to Fannie Mae CPM. So yeah, condos aren't, I mean, they're a little scary sometimes, but I feel like Denver is a good market because the company I worked for is out of Texas. So there's a lot of condo tells with like Padre Island, Corpus Christi, Galveston, whereas I feel Denver, not as much, but you have the ski resorts. So those ones are a little bit trickier, but you just have to also know which investors, Wells Fargo picks apart condos. So it's like, let's not sell to Wells Fargo.
Okay.
But yeah, that
Um,
and jumbos, non-QM. I have a background in all that. So, and the other thing, I mean, if you guys have a scenario and you're like, hey, this loan got suspended, I don't know what to do. Just let me know. I'll go look at the file. And I mean, I was even telling Dave yesterday, we had one, two divorced people married each other. She had a foreclosure. They're trying to do a loan together. They didn't meet the seasoning. And I, got suspended and they reach out to me and I was like, well, he qualifies without her. So just take her off the loan. But the loan officer didn't want to do that. And I was like, well, it's either we can do the loan with him or you can't do the loan because we don't meet seasoning.
was Hobber the loan officer? Was the
No.
loan officer's name Chris Hobber?
What are you talking about, bro?
I don't want to do that.
Oh,
So,
I'll
I
problem
mean,
solve
I'm just kidding.
all day long.
yeah. But sometimes it's just a fresh set of eyes because you guys have been looking at the loans forever and the underwriter's been looking at it. And it's like, I come in and be like, oh, just do this. It's that easy. But yeah, I mean, we did have an underwriting scenario desk with a specified agent that's all she did all day was just answer questions and help structure loans and stuff. And that all bubbled up to me. So I'm always happy to go over guidelines. Obviously interpretation. I've been picking Kelly's brain like, hey, in this scenario, what do you guys ask for? And just because right there, yesterday we had a conversation and I said, is that something that you'd want a credit supplement on, or would you take documentation from the bank to show that was paid off? And she was like, oh, I'd want a credit supplement. And I'm like, nah, because that costs money. So there's other ways that we can document things without necessarily spending money on a credit supplement. So I'm excited to just get in and get into the weeds with all of this so I can try to help come up with efficiencies to save everybody time, money, and get more production through for you guys.
Hell
You
yes.
guys have any questions? I have some more stuff that I want to cover, but do you guys have any questions
Love
that you
it.
want to bring up?
I was just gonna
No.
say, hell yes. And that's something from, when I was talking to some people in my coaching group about this, a hire that I want to make, they're like, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no.
Yeah.
Like there's too many good people out there. So like, I'm so impressed already by
Oh, well,
everything
thank
you
you.
just shared. So thank you.
Oh, and I know one of the things that Dave wanted me to talk about was I live in the gray of guidelines and I'm a very much make sense person. So if you do something with your file, like I'm not going to commit fraud, obviously, but sometimes it's like,
Dave.
why did you give us 4 months bank statements and now the underwriter asked to season this? And it's like, let's just clean it up, get rid of what we don't need. Let's make sense. The biggest thing for me is if I can defend it to an investor or to an agency, I can defend it. I went toe to toe with HUD and we had our VP of compliance on and I messaged her and I said, sorry, I'm not being very nice to this lady because I know I'm right and she's not. So they had to escalate it. And it was about seasonal income. And I used to work for WJ Bradley here in Denver years ago. And we had a branch in Northern California that had a lot of seasonal income. So I was very familiar with it. And so I fought with HUD because they were trying to have us repurchase the loan. And they finally escalated it to the head of credit and they came back and messaged me and they said, well, you were right. So we're not going to make you repurchase the loan. And we've now trained that rep on how seasonal income works. And it was one of those, oh my gosh, like the CFO was so excited that we were able to fight with them on it. But I have no problem defending us. My philosophy, and I told the underwriters this, Zenith is correct, everybody else is wrong. And I will try to find my way to be able to defend that, even if, hey, we did screw up income, but you know what? We have a debt over here that's less than 10 payments that we didn't exclude. Let's do that, rerun findings, upload new LT or 1008 and sell it. And I've done that a lot. So yeah, that's where I like to thrive is getting in the weeds with your loans and making sure that they're saleable and that I can defend things and sometimes being really creative. And again, I know, that we're on the hook for this. So I won't put Dave in any kind of weird position that, we have a bunch of unsaleable loans or I got super creative that we can't sell them.
Hell yeah.
Love to hear that.
Speaking of condos, did you all see that my Zoom or my Loom on that?
Yeah, the deal on
There's a
the broker.
Rocket Mortgage
the
has a way
broker-
to check on their little website if anyone in Rocket, which is a lot of loans, is closed in that.
Just watch the training, because the guy showed us the training. If you
Yeah.
guys watch the training, you'll see how to get in there, and you can see, you can just pull up the condo and it'll tell you if it is approved currently. You still have to do what we have to do, right?
Right.
But it'll tell you if it's an expired approval, meaning it was approved in the past, but they haven't approved it in the last 12 months. And then it'll tell you if it's delayed. I guess it'll tell you if it's
It was
denied.
like limited FHA, VA, it was everything. So I can show you guys if you need it.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I'm trying to get access to the condo project manager for Fannie because they post their list of loans that the condo projects are ineligible. And so then I can share that with you guys because it's ineligible. It's ineligible. It's not like, hey, we can't do a full review, but we can do limited. If it's ineligible, they can't do it and no investor's going to buy it. So I'm trying to get access to that so then I can send that out to you guys monthly because they update it every month.
Great.
What kind of monthly or weekly or daily communication to the sales team are you guys used to providing in terms of turn times related to what's going on in underwriting and processing? I mean, Kelly's been doing a great job. She just took that on, but we've never done, one of the things that Allie mentioned when she was here, her short time here, was like, it was getting processing turn times, disclosure turn times, things like that out to everybody. And in fact, talk about disclosures, because that's been one of the areas that you're digging into. We're looking, guys, we're going to be, I'll just tell you now, this is going to become common knowledge to the whole company here really quickly, is Encompass is going to be moving from the client, the one you're working in now, to a fully on web version over the next year and a half. It's just going to happen. You won't, at some point, you won't be able to use the smart client version that you're using now. That web version comes with all kinds of automation that we don't have today in the smart client world. And one of the things that we're working on with the company, we're talking to two companies now, the company that helped us build out Encompass, and then another company that is much more focused on, they do the Encompass build outs, but they're much more focused on reducing friction in the process and being able to streamline and use automation and business intelligence to really maximize efficiencies and be able to close more loans with fewer people, right? So it's not to get rid of people that we have, it's to be able to scale profitably without having to keep, like, if you remember what happened during COVID, where everybody's just hiring underwriters like crazy because you still needed more and more underwriters, but you were still only underwriting a couple, 3 files a day at the most. And we can't live in that world and scale profitably. You just, because everybody's going to be hiring. And remember what it was like. Underwriters were like sticking a gun to everybody's heads, and I'll take 150 or I'll take 200,000 if you want.
Oh,
me.
and the sign-on bonuses were insane.
Yeah, stupid. And so you can't run a profitable business. And so what we want to do is leverage all of that technology. And one of the things that we want to try to focus on is how can we automate disclosures? How can, by the time you guys lock the loan, it's ready to be disclosed, and you can push a disclose button and it just gets disclosed, and it doesn't, like, we're not waiting for that. So that's what we're going to try to build towards, is a world where we're just a lot more efficient. But talk about what you've seen in the past and what you guys were doing. Tell us what you were doing at Thrive when it came to disclosures. I think you said the LOs were disclosing, right?
They were. Yep.
So how automated was that process for them? Because it must have been pretty simple.
It was pretty simple. I mean, there's a few screens that they had to complete, and then they basically hit a button. We did have a disclosure desk agent, so if they were having issues, she could go in and look at it for them. Or if for whatever reason their system wasn't working, she'd send them out. But it was pretty streamlined. I mean, we trained them in segments. You know, like, hey, we'll do this branch at a time, and we tested it first before we were like, hey, everybody's doing this, because then it's just pure chaos. So once we tested it in the test environment, then we just picked one of the higher producing branches and said, hey, we want you to test it. Start with all your conventional loans. Okay, it's working. Let's move on and add all your government loans. It was just a couple clicks of buttons, and that was, I mean, it took them less than 5 minutes to get them out.
Once Cara heard one of the things Cara talked to Chelsea about was Chelsea was telling Cara that it's taken her about 40 to 45 minutes to disclose, and Cara's like, well, I got to see how you're doing that then, because it shouldn't take you more than 20 at all. Like, it should.
Right.
That's crazy that it's taking you that long. But again, we haven't built out any of the automation that's possible here. But that's what we're going to be working towards in the future. Is how do we make this faster, better? That's the question that we should be asking all the time, is how can we create a superior experience for the client? Because when we do that, we have really happy clients, we have really happy referral partners, and that makes you really happy. And that leads to lots of repeat and referral business. That's just it's that ecosystem that makes it possible. So that's the question that we should be asking all the time: is how do we create a superior experience for the client? So
Yeah, and we did have on staff Encompass admin, so we were able to meet with them weekly, go over their sprint, like, hey, we need you to fix this in Encompass or do this automation because it's going to save X dollar amount, or it's going to produce X hours and save time so people can work on more things. And sometimes it's like, okay, that's a like to have, we'll put it at the bottom of the list, but this is a must have. So we would meet with the LOS tech team once a week to go over where they were, have deadlines. Hey, we need this done now, all hands on deck kind of thing. Or, hey, that's fine, you can push it out. I mean, because I did have 6,700 closed loans a year, we did have auto assigner. So when the loans came in, they would automatically assign to the underwriter based on their credentials. And I could limit it. So if there was a new underwriter, I'd say, don't give them more than 10 new files this week because I'm test casing them. Once they're out of their test cases, you can remove that filter. Same thing, like you don't want to have a USDA loan and it gets assigned to the wrong person. So that was one of those things that it was like, okay, it's going to save me 2 hours a day from going in and reassigning files. So they kind of bumped it up to the middle. And when it came out and we test cased it, that was painful. But once we were able to work out all the bugs, it was great because now I just had to load balance. Sometimes the auto assigner would send 4 loans to this person and 1 loan to this person. And the algorithm behind the scenes wasn't working correctly. But at least now I only had to spend 20 minutes going in and shuffling just a few files. So things like that. And even I know Kelly and I were talking about auditing fields. I know there's a plugin that's called Audit Explorer, and you can put it in the Ignite bar, and literally you can just go in, and it's way better than the audit trail that Encompass has. It's more robust. It'll literally show you what everything changed. So Chris, you could have put taxes in at 250, and then the underwriter changed it in the process. Like you can see all of that, and you can see exactly who did it, when they did it. So I mean, those are nice things because that helps us with training. Not like, hey, you screwed up, you're in trouble kind of thing. Like, hey, you keep doing this and you probably didn't know you're doing it and you're causing issues. So we're just going to educate everybody and say, hey, this is what you have to do. But, certain things like that are super helpful. And you were asking about communications. I sent out the turn time for underwriting. We did have a processing lead and she managed the processing. But yeah, as far as interactions, I mean, I interacted every day with LOs, but once a month I would host a class, whatever they wanted to talk about. And sometimes I'd be like, hey, we need to talk about trends because we're seeing a spike. So we're not going to have a class on something. It's more of just an education piece on what we're seeing and how they could help be the front line for that.
So what do you guys think? Cocktails with Cara, or do we want to just do monthly coffee for closers and have her get on that once a month?
I would say start with coffee for closers because, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, is Casey going to drive down for a cocktail? Maybe, but I
we
think
could do it virtually
get
and you can just drink from
more
home.
attendance.
Yeah, we just do a virtual deal. It could be coffee it could be cocktails with Cara you could all be home so that you're not drinking and then driving home from
Rona style.
Then we all get sued and
Yeah.
My ability to drive down there in the afternoon is pretty
Yeah.
slim right now.
Yeah. Right on. Anybody have any other questions for her?
No, it's just really exciting.
I forgot Ryan's flying today too, so we got 3 people out. Sorry about that. This gets recorded though, so everybody will be able to have a chance to watch it. I love the idea of you being able to run a weekly class or monthly class. That's a great idea. I love that.
Yeah.
And then I already, guys, I've seen just a huge mood change in the department just in 3 days of her being of Cara being in the department and her interacting with her, just because I mean you can tell she's pretty easy to talk to and she's kind of a smart ass, and so she's funny and people enjoy talking to her. So and they're connecting, everybody's connecting really well, so it's really nice. And what she's not, she's smart, so she's already picked out some things that we've known all along, that she's like, I noticed this and I noticed that. So I don't think she's not going to miss much at all. And if anything, and I think it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to working with her. So it's going to be great. So right on.
Yeah. I've had fun so far.
Thanks for joining. We're
Yeah,
glad to
thanks
have
for
you.
inviting me.
Giuseppe, do you want to show that disc test? I don't know. Did you guys ever use disc test, Cara?
We sure did. Yep.
Check this out. This is really, do you have that thing that you can share the, that what you've got? Cause you loaded up 2 or 3 people. You're still
You're muted.
You're muted, G.
There we go.
This is
Every
really
time
cool.
I, heard people say, "Oh, just throw the video into ChatGPT," I never really understood what that meant. So, anyways, I just said, "Hey, I want to upload 2 disc tests. Can you help me determine if we would work well together?" And so I uploaded this disc test, and it, in like a minute, shot this out, all these details. Possible challenges, strengths that suit the assistant role, what motivates them. And then I said, okay, well, here's mine. So I uploaded mine and it gave me my information. And then it gave us this compatibility analysis for, things I should watch out for, right? And everything else seems to be like a strong aligned system. An overall excellent technical partnership, tips to maximize it. And then I went ahead and uploaded Rachel's. And then it gave me all her information, which, like, now working with her for 4 years, I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see all the things that, she's perfectly detailed and great and always cool under pressure, but like she can be slower, at doing things because she is so careful. So then it gives us team dynamics snapshot of how these people all work together. And then I said, okay, and then I'm gonna, potential challenges. And then I uploaded Chelsea's. And then it gave me, so Chelsea's a very different than the initial 3. As she moves much faster, is like always willing to jump in and help, but sometimes with the speed comes some mistakes, right? So it like points out all the stuff that like I see it, but it doesn't know these people, so it's crazy to me. And then how Chelsea differs from these other 2 people, best use of Chelsea on your team, bottom line, and that's kind of where I stopped it.
Jesus.
So
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's
it did all
insane.
that in like 5 minutes, probably. It took me longer to upload the test.
Yeah, it
than
took you longer. It spits shit out so fast. That's
You-
really impressive.
Can you send
Like,
me
we've
Annie's
never-
and mine?
What's that?
Yeah,
send
if you
me
email
Annie's
them
and
to
mine?
me. Yeah, if you email them to me.
No, I need Dave to send it to me.
Oh.
Can I what?
Send Annie's and mine.
Can I send you Annie's and yours? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I bet you it'll be interesting. You'll be like, yep, that's where we butt heads sometimes, or this is when it feels super smooth when we're doing these types of activities. So
That's crazy.
it's pretty wild.
That's fun.
It's creepy how accurate it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Especially
what
because
I've
now
always
you've worked
thought
with
about a
those.
disc test. Remember, you had me take one like when I first started, and I was like, wow, this is like scary accurate. I've never seen anything like this. But then this takes it to like a whole new level because it's like comparing and contrasting all of them. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, the first time I got my disc test, I was like, this is not right. I want to take it again. And Steve Scanlon as a building champions, and he's like, you can't. Okay, take it again. It's going to be the same. And it was exactly the same. I was like, how the fuck does it know this? And then I asked Lori, I'm like, this isn't right, is it? And she's like, oh my God, it's so right. I don't do this. Just do that. You do that all the time. It's weird, but what a great tool. Like, who would have thought? So what a great way to utilize and to take advantage of understanding how everybody works together. What a huge advantage that becomes. Especially when you're looking, when you guys are building out teams, it's so hard because you think that you've hired somebody that you're going to work really well with together. and it doesn't even mesh at all. It's like, what the heck is wrong here? And it'd be really interesting to like plug these in and see what they look like. Anybody else have anything else? This is really good. This is great, Cara. Sorry that I forgot Ryan was traveling. Jacqueline had a closing, and then Jay was sick. So we missed 3 people, but these get recorded so everybody will have a chance to watch it.
I was going to say just one more thing with Cara. So it sounds like, I liked when you said about, who's taking the ownership of this step in the process. I'd love to maybe do like a PLP type process and bring perfect loan process, like flow.
Yeah.
Because, we have like a brand new processor to us, Chelsea, who's doing awesome. But I think it would be really good to go through something like that, because I know there's little gray areas where, like someone changes something in the file. Maybe it's an underwriter or whatever. Maybe it's adds an HOA. It happened last week, like the day before closing, that no one knew there was an HOA. But like it never got told to anyone. It just showed up in the closing documents. So it's like, oh, okay, like we need to
surprise,
raise our hands here. And I would love to do that once you get settled.
Well, and that's what Dave and I were talking about too, because he was like, okay, well, ask this person what's the process, and then ask the same job, so ask Chelsea and then ask Nicole and see, are they doing things the same or not? Same thing with the LOAs. What are they doing that may be a duplication of what the processor does? So just kind of streamlining processes, because that was one of our biggest things. It's like, well, wait a minute, why is underwriting doing this when processing and then closings do it? Like, why do all 3 of us need to own it? And just I don't know, to your point, streamlining things, kind of making a roadmap. This is how we do it. This is the outline. And
I think what's happened here
tweak
is
it too.
We've had, especially with the change and us, taking over all these responsibilities that we took over when we split from VIP. We lost a lot of the continuity that we had in place in that environment. So this is a new environment for us, but I don't think that there was ever any oversight into this idea of if more than one person is accountable, then no one's accountable.
Right.
Because if we're all supposed to look, then everybody's like, well, I didn't have time on this one, but they're supposed to do it too. So they missed it. Right. Like if nothing worse than, one of my biggest pet peeves is when a loan officer says, yeah, I screwed that up, but you know what? Processing screwed this up and this up, and they didn't catch that I screwed it up. It's like, dude, come on, own your shit. Just own your shit. And so getting everybody to understand that, who's accountable is the most important thing. It really is, instead of multiple people. And I think that's just what we've lost, is that we've lost that direction and that focus of how are we going to do this? And so it's going to be really interesting, especially as you talk to LOAs and loan officers, because she's planning on meeting with loan officers one-on-one as well, guys. Mm-hmm. It won't just be the ops team. So she wants to meet.
Well, and even with post-closing, I was asking Nicole, because she's training Jonathan, and she sends out that spreadsheet that shows like what's outstanding still from the investors. I said, are you tracking who the area of responsibility is? She's like, no, I just put on there who I email. Well, that's fine. But if you're emailing a processor to go get a doc from a borrower, did the underwriter screw up? Because that's what I need to track, is being able to see where the AOR is, area of responsibility. So that way I can go back and say, here's your trends for the month. These are valid defects. And be able to say, hey, out of this month, you had 20 loans fund, and out of those 20 loans, you had 3 with errors. And rate them. Here's a minor error. Your AUS and your 1008 didn't match the property type. It wasn't a PUD. A moderate error means, hey, this could have really gone sideways, but we were able to fix it. And then obviously severe is something that's severe, and maybe we have to repurchase it. And that's something that she has built out, that spreadsheet, but nobody's monitoring that. So I told her that I'm going to have to change that and update it, and also work with Encompass at some point to build out a post-closing worksheet so we can track that internally and pull reports directly from Encompass.
That would be wonderful. Like I said, that's why I sent you that email. It's like, okay, just so you know, I just told her to build me something so I could keep track of loans and how long it's taking to get them purchased. Yeah. I'm sure you have something better. So knock yourself out. And I still want to see the report when it comes out, but build your report. It's fine. Yeah. Like I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. I'll get it fixed, but it is nice because, well, and that's what I was telling Kelly. She's like, oh no, I don't mind getting my defects. And I'm like, But if they're not valid, then why are you like, if they're not valid, if the document's in the file, then Jonathan or Nicole should be able to go into a file and say, here, this is what you needed. It just missed the shipping or stacking order. Like, here it is, and don't bother the underwriter. And actual defects, maybe they disagree with the income calculation. Okay, those are things I can work on and then share that information with them instead of having them stop production to go fix something and just tracking it that way. And then setting a matrix that, hey, we don't, part of your KPIs, you can't have more than 10% defects of moderate or severe. Minor, those are more of a housekeeping thing, like, hey, make sure you're updating your own process and workflow to make sure you're double checking those things. And again, it's also an Encompass thing. I mean, I've been in Encompass a little bit in the last 3 days, but not that much. We can build it out to where it's a stare and compare of what your AUS says and what's in the system, where it's side by side. And then you can see, okay, the credit report ID matches what's on AUS, the property type matches, and go through it that way. That way there's less errors when it does get to shipping. But, I have to work with Matchbox on that. So that's kind of
Well, you've
one
been
of
here
those.
3 days and
Yeah.
like 3 days and an hour and a half now. Like, I don't know why this shit's not done mostly.
Yeah. Well, it is a little bit hard. I'll see how it is with Scott at Matchbox. I'm going to have to start sitting in with Ashley on those.
I'm just kidding, right?
I know.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be fun. Like, it's just fun to hear you talk about efficiencies. We love that. And it feels like we haven't had it for a few years. And so this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. And once I've done the discovery part, I assume maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks,
Sure.
then I'm going to build out like an outline, share it with you and Amy, and then we can start knocking down some dominoes from there.
Right on.